All right, so are you ready to get our hands dirty with some chemistry?
I think so.
Sounds good. You've given me some financial reports on Clean Science and Technology, LTD.
Or CSTL, as it's also known.
Yes, CSTL it is. And looks like we've also got some kind of presentation here for investors. But first things first, it's their unaudited results for Q2 of fiscal year 2025. So
Right.
let's jump in and see if their performance is actually as clean as their name implies.
Well, one of the things that really stands out to me is that CSTL isn't just your typical chemical company. You see, they're a global player in something called specialty chemicals.
Okay, so what makes them so special then?
Well, their claim to fame is really how they manufacture their products.
Okay.
It's all about innovation and sustainability, and they utilize a technique called catalytic reactions.
Catalytic reactions.
Yes.
Okay, so I admit I'm not a chemist. Break that down for me a little.
Sure. So imagine that you're trying to bake a cake. And instead of just combining all the ingredients and just crossing your fingers, hoping for the best, you could also include a special ingredient that would actually speed up the whole process and make it way more efficient. That's kind of what a catalyst does in a chemical reaction. It speeds things up and just makes the process more effective overall.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
So essentially they're making chemicals, but they're doing it the smart way.
Yeah.
The eco-friendly way.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued already. But let's get down to brass tacks here.
Sure.
What kind of numbers are we looking at in their Q2 report? What really jumped out at you?
Well, their revenue growth is definitely something to take note of.
Okay.
It's pretty impressive. It jumped 26% year over year, reaching a total of 228 crore INR.
Okay. And I know percentages can sometimes be a little bit misleading. What does that actually look like in the real world?
Well, it basically means that they've had a significant increase in their market share, which shows that their products are in high demand and they're capturing a bigger slice of the market.
Okay.
And their profitability is also up.
Oh, okay. So it's not just growth for the sake of growth. They're actually making money.
Right. Their profit after tax increased by 30% to 67.4 crore INR.
Okay, so they're growing, and they're doing it profitably.
Right.
That begs the question, what's fueling all this success? Are they just selling more of the same stuff, or are they branching out a little bit?
It's actually a little bit of both.
Okay.
They're seeing really strong growth across a lot of their different segments, but particularly in their performance chemicals, which is driven by just increased volumes. But they're also expanding into new markets like China and Europe.
Okay, so they're not just relying on one particular market or one particular product.
Exactly.
They're really diversifying their reach, which is always a smart move, I think, especially in today's global landscape. It's like they're spreading their roots to make sure that they have a strong foundation in case anything, unpredictable happens.
Yeah.
But let's get a little more specific here. What exactly are these performance chemicals that seem to be driving so much of their growth?
Well, their product portfolio is actually one of their main strengths.
Okay.
It's very diverse. But one example would be MEHQ.
MEHQ.
What is that?
It's a key ingredient that is used as what's called a polymerization inhibitor in acrylic acids and superabsorbent polymers.
Polymerization inhibitor. That sounds very technical and very chemical.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean in,
Yeah, so think about things like diapers.
Diapers.
And sanitary pads.
Hold on, diapers. I was not expecting that. So this one chemical is used in something that I associate with, like, babies.
Yeah.
But it's also used in industrial applications.
Exactly. That's what makes specialty chemicals so fascinating. They're often these, like, behind-the-scenes ingredients that are in a whole bunch of different products.
And CSTL is really good at finding those applications.
Okay, now I'm starting to understand the specialty part.
Yeah.
But tell me more. What other kind of interesting chemicals are they working with?
So besides MEHQ, they also have BHA.
Okay.
That's an antioxidant that is used in the food and feed industry.
Okay.
And then there's also TBHQ, and that acts as a stabilizer in oil.
Wait, from diapers to food to oil. That's incredible. It's like they've got a hand in everything.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about all the different chemicals that are in all these products that we use every single day.
Right.
And we don't even realize it.
Exactly.
It's kind of wild.
Yeah. And that's just the performance chemicals segment.
Wow.
They also have a really strong presence in pharma and agro-intermediates with products like guaiacol.
Guaiacol.
Okay. Which acts as a precursor for things like cough syrups and vanilla.
Wait, cough syrup. So now we're talking about medicine.
Yeah, and vanilla too.
Oh, and vanilla.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they also have DCC. which is a reagent used in antiretroviral drugs.
Whoa. Okay, so from cough syrup to vanilla to drugs that fight serious diseases. The range of these products is pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And it really makes you realize the impact that a company like CSTL can have,
Right.
even though most people have probably never even heard of them.
Absolutely.
So their reach is significant, but it sounds like they're not just focused on profits.
That's right.
They're actually really committed to sustainable practices, too.
Yeah. Their manufacturing facilities are actually designed for zero liquid discharge.
Okay.
And they utilize renewable energy sources, and they've significantly reduced their emissions and water consumption.
It's so great to see a company prioritizing sustainability, especially in an industry that sometimes gets a bad rap.
Definitely.
For its impact on the environment.
Yeah.
So many companies just talk about being green.
Right.
But CSTL is actually taking concrete steps to back it up.
Yeah.
What have they done specifically to achieve these reductions in emissions and water usage?
Well, one example is their investment in what are called closed-loop systems for water.
Yeah.
So instead of just releasing wastewater, they actually treat it and then reuse it within their facilities.
Okay, so they're not just minimizing pollution, they're actually turning waste into a resource.
Exactly.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about their commitment to the environment, but what about the people behind the scenes at CSTL?
Yeah.
What can you tell me about their management and their governance structure?
Well, CSTL benefits from a really experienced leadership team.
Okay.
Their promoters are what are called technocrats who have tons of experience in the chemical industry. And they also have a very diverse board of directors, which includes independent members as well. So that's always a good sign because it shows that they value different perspectives and they strive for good corporate governance.
Okay, so it sounds like they've got a really strong team.
Yeah.
And a solid framework in place.
Right.
That's really important for long-term stability and success.
Absolutely.
Especially for a company that's growing as quickly as CSTL is. But a good foundation is really just the first step. What about their future?
Well, CCL is definitely in a growth phase.
Right.
They're really investing a lot in developing new products and expanding their capacity, which shows that they believe in their future prospects.
Okay.
And they're also very strategically focusing on something called import substitution opportunities.
Import substitution, what is that?
Yeah, so they're basically aiming to manufacture specialty chemicals that are currently being imported into India.
Right.
So it really aligns with the whole Make in India movement, which encourages domestic manufacturing and reduces the reliance on imports.
Okay, so this is more than just a smart business decision.
Yeah.
This has implications for India's, economic growth as a nation.
Exactly.
It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about their strong financial performance, but I'm curious to hear more about the specifics.
Sure.
What kind of profit margins are we talking about here? And are they actually sustainable?
Well, their EBITDA margins are very strong. They clocked in at 42.1% in Q2.
Wow. Okay, so that's not just profitable.
Right.
That's seriously profitable.
Yeah, it's much higher than the industry average, which suggests that they're operating very efficiently.
Okay, so 42.1% EBITDA margin.
That's pretty impressive.
It is. Yeah, it really highlights just how well they're managing their costs while also generating a really healthy profit.
But a single quarter doesn't really tell the whole story.
Right.
How do these Q2 results actually compare to how they've been performing over the past year?
Well, their half-year results actually reveal a pretty consistent upward trend. Their revenue has jumped an impressive 21% year over year, reaching 435.4 crore INR.
Wow.
And then their profit after tax also saw a pretty significant increase. It went up 26% to reach 139.6 crore INR. Okay, so it seems like CSTL isn't just experiencing like a temporary surge or anything.
Yeah.
This is actually a sustained period of growth and profitability.
Exactly.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier this import substitution strategy. It's a really interesting concept. Can you break that down for me a little bit more? What does it actually entail?
Sure. So import substitution is basically like a strategy to replace imported goods with domestically produced alternatives. So in the case of CSTL, they're trying to manufacture these specialty chemicals that are currently being imported into India. So it really aligns with the whole Make in India initiative, which aims to boost domestic manufacturing and reduce that dependence on import.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
By producing these chemicals in India, they're not just contributing to the country's economic growth,
Right.
they're also, potentially creating new jobs and just boosting local industries.
Absolutely.
It seems like a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay, so we talked a bit about their product portfolio earlier, but can we dive a little deeper?
Sure.
What exactly do they make? I just want to get a sense of the full breadth of their offerings.
Yeah, so it's helpful to think of their product portfolio as having these three main branches.
Okay.
So there's the performance chemicals,
Right.
and then there's the pharma and agro intermediates, and then lastly, there's FMCG chemicals.
FMCG chemicals. Okay, so what are those?
So FMCG stands for fast-moving consumer goods.
Okay.
So think about things like personal care products,
Okay.
household products, things like that.
Got it.
So for the performance chemicals segment, their flagship products are really MEHQ,
Right.
PHA, and TBHQ.
And those ones we talked about earlier, right?
Exactly.
So-
So these chemicals have applications that range from preventing unwanted polymerization in things like acrylics to acting as antioxidants in food and even stabilizers in oil.
It's amazing to think about how these seemingly, niche chemicals play such important roles in so many different industries.
Right.
I never would have guessed that a chemical that's used in diapers could also be essential for oil production.
Exactly. It really shows just how versatile chemistry is and how interconnected everything is.
Yeah.
These chemicals may not be household names,
Right.
but they are the unsung heroes in so many of the processes that we take for granted every day.
Absolutely. Okay, so that covers performance chemicals. What about these other two branches?
So for their pharma and agro intermediates segment, they produce things like guaiacol,
Right.
which is used in cough syrups and vanillin production, and then also DCC, which is an important reagent in the making of antiretroviral drugs.
Okay, so now we're talking about not just, everyday products, but also healthcare and pharmaceuticals.
Yeah,
This is pretty incredible.
it really is.
And lastly, we have the FMCG chemicals.
Yeah.
So what's going on there?
So some examples from that segment include 4-ME, which is a key ingredient in sunscreen.
Sunscreen. Wow. Okay.
Anisole.
Anisole.
Yes, which is used in perfumes and also pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
And then they also make HALS.
HALS. Okay.
Yeah, which are used for UV stabilization in things like polymers and even water treatment.
Okay, so it seems like CSTL has really managed to bridge the gap between these complex chemical processes and the products that we use every day.
Right.
From the sunscreen that protects our skin
Yeah.
to the water that we drink.
Exactly.
Before we started this deep dive, I don't think I really gave that much thought to all the science that goes on behind the scenes of these ordinary things.
It's easy to overlook it.
It is. It really opens your eyes to just how complex the world around us is.
Definitely.
And what's really cool about CSTL is that they're developing all of these chemicals using these really innovative, sustainable, and cost-effective catalytic processes.
Right.
So this approach is not only good for the environment, it's also good for their bottom line.
Right.
But it seems like their sustainability efforts don't stop at their manufacturing processes.
No, they don't.
They've also implemented a whole bunch of different initiatives to actually reduce their footprint even further and contribute to a more sustainable future.
Exactly. They've invested a lot in renewable energy sources, so they're less dependent on fossil fuels.
Okay.
And their facilities are designed to be really energy efficient.
Okay.
They also have a really comprehensive waste management system that focuses on reducing, using, and recycling.
So they're taking a really holistic approach to sustainability. It's not just about being a green company. It's about integrating sustainability into their entire business model.
Absolutely.
It's clear that they see sustainability not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about CSTL's commitment to sustainability and their impressive product portfolio. But what about the people who are actually driving all these great results?
Right. So CSTL is led by this team of really experienced individuals.
Okay.
They're called technocrat promoters, and they have a deep understanding of the chemical industry.
Okay.
For example, you have Ashok Boob, who is the managing director.
Yeah.
He brings over 28 years of experience.
Wow.
And he oversees really important functions like projects and manufacturing capabilities.
Okay.
And then there's Siddharth Sikchi, who's the executive director.
Okay.
And he really focuses on marketing and research and development. So he brings about 18 years of expertise to the table.
Okay, so It's great to see leaders with so much experience and
Yeah.
knowledge kind of at the helm.
Right.
What about the rest of the leadership team?
Well, there's also Krishna Boob,
Oh, okay.
who's also an executive director, and she
Uh-huh.
focuses on public relations and
Mhm.
purchasing,
Ah,
bringing over 23 years of experience to the team. And then lastly, you have Parth Maheshwari,
okay.
who's the fourth executive director. He
Uh-huh.
handles business operations, and he's been with the company for about 9 years.
So it sounds like they have a really well-rounded team
They do.
with a diverse range of skills
Mm-hmm.
and a real passion for the industry.
Yeah, their combined experience and leadership
Yeah.
are definitely key factors in the success of CSTL.
Okay, so we've got a strong leadership team,
Right.
but what about the rest of their employees?
Well, CSTL recognizes that their employees are their most valuable asset.
Mm.
They really invest in training and development programs,
Right.
and they make sure that everyone is equipped with the latest knowledge and skills.
Mm-hmm.
They also encourage collaboration and innovation
Okay.
and empower their employees to take ownership of their work.
So they're not just hiring people, they're really cultivating their skills and creating an environment where they can thrive, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Because a motivated and skilled workforce is crucial for any company's success.
Absolutely, especially in a field as dynamic as specialty chemicals.
Okay, so we talked a bit about their global expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Let's dig a little deeper into that. What's their geographic footprint actually look like?
CSTL already has a global presence
Okay.
with customers in over 35 countries.
Wow. Yeah.
Their revenue mix by geography actually shows that India accounts for the largest share,
Mm-hmm.
followed by Europe,
Okay.
China,
Uh-huh.
and then the Americas.
So they've got a pretty balanced distribution across these key markets,
They do.
which is a good strategy, I think, for managing risk
Yeah.
and capitalizing on, demand in different parts of the world.
Exactly.
How are they performing in these different regions? Are there any particular standouts?
Yeah, so China has actually emerged as a really key growth market for them.
Hmm.
Their efforts to expand in the region seem to be paying off.
Okay.
They've seen a big increase in sales and market share there.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Breaking into such a large and competitive market like China
Right.
is not easy.
It isn't.
What about the other regions? How are they doing there?
Well, Europe has also seen significant growth.
Okay.
So they've really solidified their position in that market.
Uh-huh.
They've really focused on producing high-quality products,
Oh, good.
adopting sustainable practices,
Yeah.
and providing really good customer service,
Yeah.
which has really resonated well with their European customers.
So it's more than just about, exporting products.
Right.
They're really building relationships
Yeah.
and establishing a reputation for excellence,
Mm-hmm.
which is a key ingredient for sustainable growth in the long term.
Absolutely.
And what about the Americas? Have they made any progress there?
Yeah, so while the Americas represent a smaller portion of their revenue at the moment,
Oh.
they've still seen some really promising growth,
Yeah.
both sequentially and year over year.
Okay, so it sounds like they're gaining traction in that market as well.
They are.
It's really encouraging to see them making progress across all these different regions.
Yeah, it shows their adaptability and
Mhm.
their ability to meet the needs of a diverse customer base.
But going global doesn't come without its challenges.
True.
What are some of the hurdles that CSTL might face as they continue to expand internationally?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is navigating the complex regulatory landscape.
Uh-huh.
Every region has its own set of environmental regulations,
Right.
safety standards,
Mhm.
labeling requirements.
Yeah, it's like having to solve a different puzzle
Exactly.
in each new market.
Right. CSTL will need to make sure that they're complying with all of these regulations
Uh-huh.
while also maintaining the quality and consistency of their products.
And what other challenges do you think they might run into?
Well, managing logistics and supply chains across different continents.
Right, because we're talking about chemicals.
Exactly.
So it's not just about, shipping boxes of something simple.
Right.
These are sensitive materials that need to be transported and handled
Mhm.
very carefully.
They need to have a really robust logistics network
Right.
to handle their global ambitions.
Okay. And are there any other challenges that come to mind?
I think they also need to be mindful of cultural differences
Uh-huh.
and adapt their communication and marketing strategies accordingly.
Because what works in India might not work in Europe
Exactly.
or the Americas.
Right.
So it's not just about speaking the language. It's about really understanding the cultural nuances.
The nuances, yeah.
And adapting their approach to fit those different markets.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it seems like CSTL is approaching international expansion with a really well thought out strategy. They're not just diving in head first.
No, they're not.
They're aware of the challenges and they're taking steps to address them.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about their impressive profit margins, but what about their capital structure?
Okay.
How much debt are they carrying?
Well, this is where things get really interesting. CSTL has actually maintained a debt-free balance sheet.
Wow.
They've achieved all of this growth without borrowing money.
Wow.
Which is very unusual for a company.
Yeah, especially in a capital-intensive industry like chemicals.
Exactly. It really shows their commitment to financial prudence and their ability to generate strong cash flow from their operations.
I mean, that's pretty incredible. In today's business world where debt is so common.
It's very common.
It's really refreshing to see a company thriving without that burden.
Right.
It really speaks volumes about their financial discipline.
Absolutely.
But a debt-free balance sheet could also raise questions about their approach to growth, right? Are they maybe being too conservative?
Yeah, that's a good point. Some might say that they're missing out on opportunities to expand or make acquisitions by not utilizing debt.
Right.
But, their debt-free approach is a reflection of their conservative financial philosophy and their focus on long-term stability. It also gives them a significant advantage over their competitors.
How so?
Well, they don't have any interest payments to worry about or debt covenants that might restrict them.
Yeah.
So they can be much more agile and responsive to changes in the market.
It's like they're not weighed down by any baggage.
Exactly.
They can move quickly and adapt to whatever comes their way.
Absolutely.
So it's like they're playing the long game.
Exactly.
They're building their business on a really solid foundation. But, financial prudence doesn't mean they're just sitting on their cash and doing nothing.
Right.
What's their approach to capital allocation? How do they decide where to invest their money?
They're very strategic about it.
Okay.
They prioritize investments that support their long-term goals. They're not just chasing quick wins or jumping on every trend that comes along.
Right.
They're focusing on things like expanding their production capacity to meet that growing demand, developing new and innovative products, improving their technology to be more efficient and sustainable, and exploring new markets to diversify their revenue streams.
So they're really covering all the bases.
They are.
But how do they balance those growth ambitions with keeping their shareholders happy?
Well, they have a very consistent track record of paying dividends, which shows their commitment to sharing their success with their investors. And their dividend payments have actually increased over the years, which reflects their strong performance and their confidence in their future.
So it's a win-win for everybody. They get to grow the business, and the shareholders get rewarded for their investment. But dividends are just one way to keep investors happy.
True.
What about their overall investor relations practices?
Well, they're very proactive and transparent.
Okay.
They communicate with their shareholders regularly through things like quarterly earnings calls, investor presentations, annual reports.
So they're really making an effort to keep investors in the loop. They are.
Which is important.
It is.
Because it builds trust.
Right.
And it shows that they see their investors as partners.
Absolutely.
Not just as a source of money.
Yeah.
But transparency and good governance are not just about keeping investors happy.
Right.
They also play a big role in a company's overall reputation.
Yeah.
It affects their ability to attract and retain good employees.
Yeah.
Build strong relationships with suppliers. And earn the trust of their customers.
So it really is a holistic approach.
It is.
And it seems like CSTL has done a really good job of building that solid foundation, both financially and ethically.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about CSTL.
Right.
But let's zoom out for a second.
Okay.
And talk about the industry as a whole.
Sure.
What's the competitive landscape like?
Well, the specialty chemicals industry is very competitive.
Okay.
There are a lot of companies out there, all vying for that market share.
So who are some of CSTL's biggest rivals?
Well, they're up against some tough competition from both domestic and international players.
Like who?
Some examples would be Arty Industries, PI Industries, Navin Fluorine, and Venati Organics.
Okay, and what are those companies like?
Well, these are all well-established companies with a strong presence in the market. They have diverse product portfolios and a good track record of innovation.
Okay, so CSTL is facing some serious competition.
Yeah.
But what are their strengths?
Well, one of their key strengths is their focus on innovation.
Okay.
They invest a lot in R&D,
Uh-huh.
and they've really mastered those catalytic reactions, which allows them to create these really unique products,
Right.
improve efficiency, and reduce their environmental impact.
Okay, so they're not just competing on price, they're competing on innovation and sustainability.
Exactly.
Which are really important in today's market.
Absolutely.
But every company has its weaknesses. What are some areas where CSTL could improve?
Well, one challenge they face is the cyclical nature of the industry.
Okay.
Their business is affected by things like the global economy and fluctuations in demand from different industries.
Right, so those are things that are really outside of their control.
Exactly. They're also exposed to volatility in raw material prices, which can impact their profit margins.
Okay, so it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
They have to manage these external factors that can affect their business.
Absolutely.
But it sounds like they're taking steps to address these challenges.
They are. They've diversified their product portfolio to reduce their reliance on any single industry. They also have hedging strategies in place to minimize the impact of those price fluctuations.
Okay.
And their strong financial position gives them a buffer to kind of absorb those shocks.
So they're not just crossing their fingers and hoping for the best.
No, they're not.
They're being proactive about managing those risks.
Exactly.
Okay, so even with a great track record, the future is always uncertain.
Right.
What are CSTL's long-term goals? Where do they see themselves in the next, 5 to 10 years?
Well, they have some really big goals.
Okay.
They want to become a global leader in the specialty chemicals industry. They want to expand their market, develop innovative new products, and set the standard for sustainability.
So they're not just content with being another player in the game.
No, they're not.
They want to be the one calling the shots.
They want to be the leader.
Wow, that's a big goal.
It is.
But it sounds like they're on the right track. So what are they actually doing to make that happen?
Well, they're investing heavily in expanding their capacity to meet that global demand. They're also really focusing on R&D to create new products for new markets. And they're strategically expanding internationally, targeting those high-growth areas and building those strong partnerships.
So it sounds like they have a really solid plan in place.
They do.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about clean science and technology.
Me too.
And the specialty chemicals industry. So as we wrap up here, what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, I think CSTL's story really highlights that business success isn't just about making money. It's about building a sustainable and responsible business that benefits everyone involved.
The employees,
customers, the investors, and the community.
Right. It's about more than just the bottom line.
Exactly.
So CSTL is really proving that you can do well by doing good.
Yeah. Their focus on innovation, sustainability, and good governance has not only made them financially successful, but has also made them a role model for other businesses.
Okay. So what can other businesses learn from CSTL?
Well, I think they've shown that integrity,
innovation, and a commitment to sustainability aren't just buzzwords.
Yeah.
They're essential ingredients for building a successful and lasting business.
Absolutely. It's a really inspiring story.
It is.
It shows that you can achieve great things when you have a clear vision, strong values, and a dedication to making a positive impact on the world.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today.
Okay.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Clean Science and Technology Ltd.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And until next time, keep exploring.
Keep learning.
And keep striving to make a positive impact.
On the world,